For anyone who travels, we have all been here. Stuck on a flight, circling the airport, waiting for our turn to land, or stuck on the ground, waiting for our connecting flight to finally arrive. It seems like being delayed at airports has become the norm, and with more and more people traveling by air every year, if something isn't done, then this problem will only get worse. Luckily for all of us, NASA and their commercial partners have developed a new technology called Flight Deck Interval Management, or FIM, to minimize these types of delays and to make travel faster and more economical for all of us. Much of the early testing and research for this new approach was performed by using sophisticated computers and flight simulators at NASA field centers. But to make sure this system will work for commercial flights, NASA must now test this tech in real-world conditions, on real flight tests. So NASA and its partners are here in Seattle, Washington, taking part in a comprehensive flight test campaign called ATD-1, or Air Traffic Management Technology Demonstration 1. Once they're done here, they hope to be one step closer to minimizing those annoying delays. To understand what the ATD-1 program is and how they hope to integrate the Flight Deck Interval Management System into commercial aircraft, we must first understand why there are flight delays today. Currently, the system works like this. Air traffic controllers are in charge of the spacing and sequencing of all inbound aircraft. The air traffic controllers use radar to track and manage all incoming aircraft, giving speed up, slow down, and vector commands to the pilots coming in to land. The pilots comply with these commands and, based on those instructions, are placed in a landing queue in front of or behind other aircraft. Although our current air traffic management system and radar technology does a good job of managing all those flights, this is where delays begin. Radar can be imprecise, and because voice communication between humans introduces delays, the air traffic controllers are cautious and require greater spacing between airplanes to maintain safety. The spacing gets even larger at peak times and in bad weather, causing more delays. Because researchers know why there are delays, they think they know how to solve the problem.
With the current technology that we use, which a lot of it from the radar dates from the 40s and 50s, with a lot of the procedures that we've built around it from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, that we're pretty close to the maximum capacity that we have with the current system. So this does specifically address that we think we've hit that limit, and we're looking for a new way to do business so that it is more scalable, more responsive, more efficient. And so instead of relying just on radar, which is still very effective, we're relying on something called ADS-B, which is automatic dependent surveillance, which is broadcasted. And so now we have the aircraft are actually sending out signals that all the other aircraft and the ground can see. This gives us much more accurate information. We can create more sophisticated plans. And then the decision support tools that AIM's built for the controllers and what we're building for the pilot allow the controllers and pilots both to execute to this much more sophisticated schedule than we have currently.
With this new technology, the pilots will no longer be reliant only on air traffic control, but can follow automated directions on their onboard flight deck interval management system.
Air traffic controllers are responsible for spacing. With FIM and understanding ADS-B, we now have the capability on the airplane that we can get signals from the other airplanes and know where they're at. We know their state data, we know their speeds, their altitude, and so we can actually space them off of each other so that we are getting more airplanes through. Right now, air traffic controllers space people further apart because they don't know necessarily the winds and how the airplane is reacting, because every airplane reacts differently. But if you put that information in the cockpit with the pilot and have the air traffic controller issue him a flight deck interval management, a FIM clearance, then he can space off the guy in front of him, so you're getting more airplanes through. It's not an easy problem to solve, because right now you've got everybody lined up, but what about when you have those guys coming from the other direction? You've got to create a space for them and slide them into the chain to get them in also. And so it'll be boom, boom, boom. Even when you get weather, you will be able to target them in and get more airplanes in and out so that you're increasing your throughput, which saves fuel, saves time, saves money ultimately for the consumer.
It works like this. This NASA-developed software keeps track of the speed and position of the airplanes as they approach an airport. GPS signals determine each plane's location and ground speed, then broadcasts this information to satellites and ground stations about once every second. The FIM system automatically calculates how fast the planes should be traveling to maintain the proper spacing between them and displays that information on a tablet in the plane's cockpits. The pilots see their speed and the speed of other aircraft around them in real time, allowing for safe distancing until the landing gear touches the ground. Because this software can predict the moment when an airplane touches down within a few seconds, pilots and ground controllers plot each plane's route more easily and efficiently. With tighter spacing, planes won't loiter in the air as long, which means there is the potential to use less fuel, reduce noise and pollution for communities around airports, and have fewer flight delays for the flying public. Working with Boeing, Honeywell, the FAA, United Airlines, and others, this NASA-led project performed the flight tests out of Boeing Field and out of SeaTac Airport in Seattle. For these tests, they flew 3 research vehicles, including Honeywell 757, a Honeywell business jet, and a United Airlines 737. The planes, each carrying the necessary tech, ran simulated approaches and landings at a Grant County International Airport near Moses Lake, which is about 120 miles east of Seattle. These tests were invaluable, helping the team to see what works and what needs some tweaking.
The average day will probably start off 7 o'clock, 7:30. We'll have a mass brief where we get all the flight crews and the flight test directors and engineers together. We'll talk about the day. We're going to have air traffic control representatives in the briefing with us as well. And then by 9 o'clock, 9:30, we will be at the aircraft and take off from both Boeing Field, which is where the 2 Honeywell aircraft will be, and then Seattle Tacoma International, which is where the United aircraft will be.
As the day begins, each plane takes off and they head to their testing area. Then, follow the leader begins.
It's interesting that you say follow the leader, because that's a very simple description of what we're trying to do. There's one aircraft that would be identified as a lead aircraft. They're using automatic dependent surveillance broadcast signals. The aircraft that are following them have been given instructions: follow your leader, follow that aircraft by 180 seconds. And now what we've developed are software tools and displays that can show the flight crews whether they're at that 180 seconds, whether they're going a little bit too quickly or a little bit too slow. If they're a little bit out of position, it can guide them back into that position with these tools. And everybody stays in line, and the flow of traffic continues on down to the runway very smoothly that way.
So far, this GPS-based technology has been handily guiding airplanes in from cruise altitudes at 35,000 feet all the way through descent and then to their final approaches with incredible precision. So researchers are feeling confident that they are on the right track. Currently, more than 500 million passengers fly every day here in the U.S., and that number is expected to double to about 1 billion passengers per year by 2030. If we have the ability to land a few more aircraft at each airport every hour, it would add up to thousands of extra passengers per day, getting to their destinations on time. Multiplied over the entire country, it's easy to see why this idea is so intriguing and why NASA and its partners are working hard to solve this problem. More testing will continue in the months to come, but as for right now, this approach looks incredibly promising.